What is going on, everybody? So today I want to take a look back in history, and I'm already laughing because this video is going to hurt to make. It really is going to pain me. But basically the premise of this video, about a year ago, 366 days ago, I uploaded two videos. One, Paldea Evolved is back in stock, time to invest. This was because Paldea Evolved went out of stock on the PC, came back in. I just made a video talking about Paldea Evolved in general. And then the second video was a Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon specialty set update video for the month of April 2024. And we'll start with Paldea Evolved, this first video. And you can see right now, Paldea Evolved is about $240 a booster box. The Magikarp's $214. The Iono's up there at $60, Raichu $50, Tyranitar $44. So there you go. Those are some prices. Now, if we look back a year ago, it is painful. These boxes were $110. So if you bought Paldea Evolved at market price 1 year ago exactly, you have more than doubled your money. You're up over 100%. And outside of that, a lot of single prices have changed as well. So if we come in here and we find, I think the Magikarp, Magikarp was exactly $100. And you can see the 1 year chart of the Magikarp before this. So basically 2 years ago, the Magikarp, when it came out, was about $20, spiked up to around $80, came back down to around $40. So this was a legit $40 card a couple years ago, and it just slowly climbed through all of last year. And as you can see on the graph here, if we pull up the Magikarp, which I think we can do here, in real time, I mean, it just continued to steadily climb, and then around October, it was around $130. Made its massive play up to around $280, and now it's settled around $200. But still, you could have made really good money buying even just a single card. The PSA 10, I think you've made more than that as well. Some other cards in here, if we can take a look, you can see at the time the Iono, the special illustration was $75, the regular one was $25. This was a playable card, I believe. Same thing with Super Rod. You had the Chien Pao up there at $23, $24, which I think was playable also. The Raichu was only $24. The Tyranitar was sub $20. Chuyu was $16. What else do we have in here? Skeledirge was like $12, $13. Baxcalibur, I mean, this got pumped up to what, $80, $50, $60, something like that. So you could have like 4 or 5 decks from that point. Skeledirge, you basically 2 or 3x. Based on prices. Fuecoco was $10. Like, these cards were just dirt cheap. And it's not just Paldea Evolved. If we go look at this Sword and Shield video, the first thing I showed back then was Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes, which at the time were around $170 USD, which had been fairly consistent for about a year. Like, you hadn't seen much movement from, this would have been what, like spring 2023 to spring 2024. But you can see over the past year, they went from around 170, and then once October, November hit, this was when popularity took off. They're already about $190, and they've just made a play up to around $300. So these definitely way less on the market nowadays than there were a year ago, and the prices increased, pretty much 67, 68% in that range. Not too bad considering the box was already like, what, 3.5x MSRP, something along those lines. Next up, we had Shining Fates over here somewhere. I just have to get through talking. Champion's Path, I'm not even going to cover. Champion's Path is basically the same price, so I didn't even throw that in there. I was never really a big fan of Champion's Path. I was never a fan of this set though either. Shining Fates, $45. This had actually gone down over the prior 12 months to making this video just a little bit. And you can see it hit a low there, probably around $38-ish. It was sitting around 45. And over the past year, I mean, these are up 78%. Like, Shining Fates, guys. You have the Zard in here, nothing else, and still up 79%. It honestly is comical just looking at some of these prices. And these aren't even really the painful ones. We'll take a look at those in a minute. Celebrations, I mean, this is sitting around $133 right now, up about 70% over the past 12 months. And you can see, if we go back to this video over here somewhere, Celebrations was $75-ish. Let's see if there's a better photo of the chart anywhere. Yeah, so even this was down over the 12-month period prior to this 12-month period. So Celebrations, like, nobody wanted this. Coming out of the 25th anniversary, these were really just trading in that like $75, $80 range. Maybe you were lucky to pick them up around $60, but again, no one was really looking at Celebrations. And before we look at the final 3 investments, which really are painful for me to look at, I wanted to jump in here and say 68.8%, almost 69 magic number percent of you guys watching these videos past 28 days are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're getting some value out of this content, hit the friggin' subscribe button, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Next up, Crown Zenith. And In this video 12 months ago, these boxes were coming off a reprint. Before the reprint, they were up to around $65, $70 in ETB. At the low in December, these were like $35, $38 on this graph you can see. At the time of recording this video, I believe they were about $44. There it is, $44.14. And now, over the past 12 months, you're up 208% almost. So you could have just been loading up on these over the summer, and I probably should have just been buying more of these. Crown Zenith is such a great set, and I'll probably look at more videos in the future that I did from around that time period, looking at even some of the cards, and so many of the cards in that set were, 30-40% of what they are now, even less for a few of them. So Crown Zenith, it seems like a no-brainer now, but at the time, there was just so much of it out there, and I think people really thought it was going to take a lot longer to chew through the supply. And that's why I like people doing those videos now, and I'm going to start doing them as well for eBay, just trying to figure out how much supply is out there, right? And based on sell-through rates, like how long is it going to take before we see movement in some of these boxes? And really, I think that's probably going to be the biggest kind of revolution in this investing space over the next year or so, as people try and get a better idea of really how much product is out there and how long is it going to take for them to get X amount of returns. Because for the longest time, you can go back and watch my videos, we didn't even know how much stock there was on some of these websites, right? Like Pokemon Center, people were just guessing when the Fusion Strike, when the Lost Origin stuff was going to sell out. Then we eventually got stock trackers. We were able to track those for a while. Those are now gone, so we really have to rely on secondary information from eBay and other sources. But being able to eventually solve that or get as close to solving it as possible is going to help investors. Outside Crown Zenith, there were a couple more things I wanted to look at, and this is probably the most painful one. 151 regular ETBs. At this time last year, they were $58 on TCG Player, guys, and they were selling all day, every day in this range. You could probably pick them up for $50 or less on the open market, on your Facebook groups, whatever, and then even some stores like Target probably had deals on them. So you could find these very cheap a year ago, and now up 262% almost over the past year. It really hurts because I really thought there was going to be a 151 reprint on these ETBs. Like, it just seemed insane that they were already pushing into that like 70-ish range, 60, 70 range, when MSRP is what, like $45, $50 on these? I mean, $50 I think, right? But either way, like the fact they were already over MSRP like a few months after release, it was just wild. And I thought we were going to get more of it. We ended up not getting more of these, and they just taken off since then. And that really is, at this point, why I think it's a good idea to get a little bit of every set at release. That's why if you want to get some Journey Together PCTBs, or you want to buy like a little bit of the enhanced booster box, a little bit of the non-enhanced booster box, just in case we never get reprints of one of those boxes, and for some reason in the future they're super rare. That's why I think it's worth buying a little bit of each set. I've seen people say that they're not even going to buy any Destined Rivals because it's going to be so expensive at release. It's probably worth it, even if you have to pay up. Just get a little bit of exposure, just in case we have a situation where there's never any cheaper than that, right? Because you never really know, right, what's eventually going to happen. But for the most part, I mean, be smart and don't go all in if you think the price is ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous prices, I want to look at the last thing on this list, the 151 UPCs. You could have bought these in December 2023 for $94.56, and you could have bought them lower than that in reality on the open market. Like Walmart in the US had these in stock for the longest time, like MJ Holdings was selling these. So many other sellers, they were just everywhere. You could buy them cheap. Nobody wanted them. At that time, though, in April, they were about $104, so they'd come up a little bit. And now if you look at them a year later, up 221% for probably one of the best products from the SV era to be created. Up until this point, there's going to be some. I'm really excited for the prismatic one coming up, the super premium collection. I think this one had better promos. The 151 collection, you also have, I think, one more pack or three more packs, whatever it is, but still really great product, and it's done super well over the past couple of years. But I wanted to make it because I think it is good to have reminders that what we think of right now, it might not be true. It really might not be true. Our thought processes, I mean, like you go back a year, you go to the comments on this video that I made, Time to Invest in Paldea. This was, again, 1 year ago to the day. Top comment, this isn't selling out anytime soon. You guys need to stop emotional buying. Well, that comment's aged like milk, and I don't blame the guy. Like, honestly, at the time, like you would never think Paldea Evolved at this point would be $240. But it seemed like a pretty no-brainer play to be buying these boxes at like 90, $100. I think someone else left a comment down here. Pokey Pastor, which I know who still watches my videos sometimes. I picked up cases at 83 a box. Think that's a safe play. Yeah, I think that's been a pretty friggin' safe play, dude. I think you've done well on that. So, congrats. And then, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting for me to go back and watch these videos and read the comments just to see where people's mentality was at, and just also just see the people who are still here. Like I see a lot of names in these comments of people that still watch the channel. Agent Crypto, Hidden Fates is a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, like 70% in a year, guys. Not too bad there. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.